Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. My top 20 QBs. This is part 2. If you have not watched the quarterbacks 1 through 10, go check that one out. This is 11 through 20, my quarterback rankings for your 2022 fantasy football drafts. I think that's enough keywords for the YouTube algorithm. We're going to go through all of these guys. I'm going to talk about each of them, mostly from a best ball draft perspective. If you're playing on Underdog Fantasy or DraftKings, this is how I play the game. More often than not, I'll do 100 to 200 best ball drafts every single summer, if not more. And then I'll mix in like 2 or 3 transactional drafts. I do the Scott Fishbowl and then possibly the Guillotine League at ESPN and some other leagues. So realistically speaking, best ball is the way that I play, and tournaments with all that money up top is the way that I prefer to play. So all of this and all of these rankings are from a tournament best ball perspective. So if you need to tweak it for your friends and family league, go ahead. But to me, the information is what it is, right? And they're going to match mostly what your drafts are. So I hope that you get a lot out of it. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, leave me a reply down below who you would have put in your top 20 that I didn't, and let's go.
He's a legend.
Coming in at number 20 is Deshaun Watson. Now, he was not in my top 20 when everything started, when I started making these notes over the weekend, but based on the judgment that came down, Deshaun Watson is going to be suspended for the first 6 weeks of the season. He will come back in week 7, and then they have a bye week in week 9. So here's what we have to talk about. Court cases notwithstanding, whatever, you know, all that stuff is a fodder for another video and another discussion. From a fantasy football only perspective, Deshaun Watson has been one of the best point producers on a per game basis in daily fantasy and season-long fantasy. Best ball only heightens the fact that we don't have to worry about when we start him, but if you draft him, you had better have a very solid QB1 and very possibly draft 3 quarterbacks, because there are no transactions in best ball drafts, to carry you through that first 6 weeks of the season. So you're still going to have to get somebody behind him, probably one of the quarterback 27, 28, 29, whatever, you know, Marcus Mariota, Baker Mayfield, Davis Mills sort, to carry you through the first month and a half of the season, to hope that Deshaun Watson comes back and is still the Deshaun Watson from 2 years ago. Now, here's the things that are standing in his way, because most people say, hey, look, Al, Deshaun Watson's a top 5 quarterback whenever he played. Sure, in Houston, when they let him throw the ball all over the place and run it as well, this is not going to be that sort of offense in Cleveland. Whether Deshaun is under center or whether it's literally anybody else, whether it was Baker Mayfield, whether it's Deshaun, they are a running the ball and defense first. They are going to remain that, but they will be more efficient with Deshaun Watson under center. So to me, that's really what's going to cap his upside. And if he was not suspended at all and was going to be there all 18 weeks, it would be very tough for me to put him like higher than like 13 or 14 on my list because of just the style of offense that they're going to run. I'm not expecting a ton of pass attempts from him a game. And obviously pass attempts don't directly lead to fantasy points, but when you have an efficient passer, you want them throwing the ball more, because obviously the more they throw with as efficient as they are, that's what stacks up fantasy points, a la Matthew Stafford, Tom Brady, Joe Burrow, guys like that who've been super duper efficient. When they throw the ball a ton, you get a lot of results. Now, they did beef up a little bit. Like last year, they had OBJ at the beginning of the season. They had Landry. They got rid of both of them. They brought in Amari Cooper. So like maybe a lateral move at wideout. They're expecting Donovan Peoples-Jones to be very good. Njoku's still there. This is just not going to be a very heavy passing team. And the fact that you have to miss 7 minimum weeks because of the suspension plus the bye week coming after the suspension week keeps Deshaun Watson as my 20th QB on this list. He just nosed out Zach Wilson, who just missed my top 20. He would be my 21 right now. Moving on to number 19, Daniel Jones. To me, 19 with an arrow. He's being drafted as the 21st QB off the board on Underdog at an ADP of like 159. I like the ADP of the players that are on his team as well. Kadarius Toney, super cheap. Everybody was drafting Kenny Golladay in the 5th round last year, and he's going in like the 10th round this year. Saquon Barkley, his ADP has caught up. Saquon Barkley was one of the best values early in draft season, May, early June, where he was going like the 3rd, 4th rounds. Now he's going like the middle of the 2nd, where he kind of should be going, or where I believe he should be going or should have been going the entire time. Daniel Jones now with a better offense, an entirely healthy and shifty pass catching group, with adding Wan'Dale, with having Kenny Golladay there in a better style of offense, with having Kadarius Toney being healthy, and Saquon back healthy again after the 2 years of freak injuries from him. It's sink or swim time for Daniel Jones, and they're going to go out and see what they have. Coach DeBall is going to put him in a great offensive system and in every situation for him to be successful. Jones has been very, very good with his legs, and hopefully Danny Dimes can live up to his name and actually throw the ball to his pass catchers instead of to the players in the other color jerseys. But there's massive upside here if everything clicks, and when you're drafting best ball teams, you need to be drafting like everything is going to go to plan. That's because there's no transaction. It's not like, well, if he doesn't do good, I'll drop him after a couple of weeks and figure it out. There's no dropping. There's no waivers. There's no trades. The upside here is tremendous, and that's what we're drafting for with Daniel Jones. If he contributes with his legs and can feed all of those receivers in a much upgraded offensive system, Daniel Jones being very underdrafted. Quarterback is so super deep this year, way deeper than it was the last 2 or 3 seasons. Coming in right above him is Trevor Lawrence. Sunshine being drafted as the 18th quarterback off the board. He's my number 18 quarterback as well. An ADP of 142.7. Very easy to stack because Christian Kirk being drafted like the 7th or 8th rounds. MJJ super late in the teens. Very easy to pick up guys around. Evan Ingram's going like the 17th round. It's not difficult to go get him. The only target that's difficult to get is Travis Etienne, whose ADP has climbed into the 3rd round. I'm not sure that he can sustain that based on James Robinson being back and healthy way sooner than I ever projected him to be. I was hoping that Etienne was going to be the only show in town and get like 75-80% of the running back snaps. It's entirely possible that Etienne plays like 45% of the running back snaps and James Robinson plays like 55% of the running back snaps, kind of like Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon III last year. That would bode very, very poorly for Travis Etienne drafters, but this is a quarterback video, so let's just talk about Trevor Lawrence. If he gets a Nyheim Hines or JD McKissick type year out of Travis Etienne, who people are drafting in the 3rd round, mind you, don't be one of those guys. Trevor Lawrence still has the possibility to live up to the hype of being the top quarterback prospect to come into the draft since Peyton Manning 20 some years ago. Being written off by too many people far too early. We have to be a little bit kinder on these young quarterbacks. Everybody wants to judge them halfway through their rookie year and decide they're either MVP candidates or they're going to be bagging groceries in 2 seasons. It takes a while to adjust to the NFL. I know that some players have been outliers like Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow going to a Super Bowl in his 2nd year. They are outliers. There are a lot of shades of gray in between. It's not cliff diving, right? It's not like, well, you're a grand champion or you're a stain on a rock. Everybody's selling off Trevor Lawrence as being a stain on a rock, and he's not. What if he's like very good? What if he's like the 11th best quarterback in the league or 9th best quarterback in the league when it's all said and done in a couple of seasons? Right now, based on the numbers that those guys are putting up, that's going to be tremendous. And if he can make his way there and progress to that in year 2, I believe that that's going to be really solid. He is not a running quarterback, but he's more mobile than people give him credit for. So able to give you some rushing yards and a solid floor, maybe 25 to 35 yards on the ground. Possibility of maybe him expanding his touchdowns on the ground to like 4 or 5 this year, as well as being more efficient through the air. We'll wait and see. They spent a lot of money on Christian Kirk. We'll see if he can live up to being the alpha wide receiver. They still need to add more on the outside. They'll continue to do that as the years go on, because the greatest thing in the world to have at the NFL level is a quarterback, or a top half of the league quarterback, if not an elite quarterback, on a rookie scale contract. Go over and check out all the great drafts that they have over on Underdog Fantasy. You get a $100 deposit bonus if you're a first-time depositor if you use that code Smizzle, right up there, one word, ALSMIZZLE, or just click the link down below in the pinned comment, smizzle.tv/underdog. We'll take you right there. Make a new account and you deposit up to $100 and they will match it. You get $200 in your account on that first-time deposit. They just launched the Puppy 3. This will probably fill in the next 2 weeks. So a $5 option with like $100,000 up top. And the Best Ball Mania tournament, the 3rd year they're running it, with $2 million to the absolute winner, $1 million to 2nd place, and $1 million if you're the highest score at the end of the regular season. Go check out all the great products and pick them that they have over on Underdog Fantasy. Justin Fields coming in next for me as my 17th ranked quarterback. He is being drafted as QB 16 off the board, so not much discrepancy there in my rankings and what the market has said his price is. He's being drafted as the 125th, 126th player off the board. My issue is I can't really stack him, so I don't have very much Justin Fields. I am a Justin Fields fan. I think that this kid can be really solid in the NFL. However, I don't think we're going to see it this year. However, because he is a Konami code guy, because he is a running quarterback and has that ability, he may not need to be super efficient yet. The problem is they just don't have anything on the outside. Darnell Mooney's nice. He's not thrilling, but he's nice. Like there's no body on the outside that can really do anything. Like we're dealing with Komet the non-copyright frog and everything. Like Justin Fields is being forced to do all of the heavy lifting, which is very tough on a sophomore quarterback. So I'm not expecting the Bears to win a whole lot. I'm not expecting Justin Fields to really take a leap this season. I'm hoping that the Bears can reprioritize in the summer and then get him some really good outside guys to go to next year to really see him take a leap as a third-year quarterback. But it could be a tough year for Justin Fields. But I have him ranked here because of his ability with his legs. Next, I have Tua Tagovailoa, who is the 17th quarterback off the board on on Underdog Fantasy, with an ADP of 132.8. Now, look, they added a ton around him. We know what we had in Jalen Waddle. Gesicki is a solid, if unspectacular, extremely great athlete at tight end, who profiles very well when he's like the third option. Because of what he can do athletically. They also beefed up the running back core with a great pass catching back. I don't expect Chase Edmonds to be like a 20-25 touch guy in this McDonald offense, but like if he's what he was the first half of the season in Arizona, where like they get him 5, 6, 7 targets, get him some gadget run attempts, and then lean on the other big guys to run out of the backfield. This is a very inventive offense that made Jimmy G look like a stud a lot of the time, even though Jimmy G is very meh, right? Tua has a much better prospect profile than does Jimmy G. The film that we're seeing right now from the beat writers that are there in camp makes this offense look very, very, very good. No matter what I hear, I'm not listening to coach speak. I'm not listening to whatever Tyreek Hill is. Oh, he's the most accurate passer. I'm going from one Hall of Fame guy to another Hall of Fame. I'm not dealing with all that stuff, right? But like Tyreek Hill is an elevator of talent. And Jalen Waddle is basically just as fast as Tyreek Hill on the other side, and quite possibly a better route runner in the short to intermediate range. They also have Gesicki roaming. They added Ced Wilson, who was very solid in Dallas's offense as a slot guy. There's a lot of places for him to go with an improved offensive scheme around him. Tua could take a massive leap here in year 3. He's going to have to after a couple of very average or below average years at quarterback based on the system that was there around him. Only 16 touchdowns last year in 13 games. I think we could see him approach 25 and possibly a little bit more, as well as do a little bit more with his legs. This could be a leap year for Tua, and you're not going to have to pay much to get him, and very easy to stack because you're going to know whether or not you got Tyreek Hill or Waddle and or Gesicki behind one of those two. It's very hard to get Hill and Waddle unless you reach on one of them to make that Dolphins stack or double stack work as your QB2, which is where you're drafting the majority of these guys. So I really like Tua this year. I'm on the Tua is hashtag good. Doesn't mean he's hashtag great or hashtag elite, but I think he's good, which means like this is the range we should be drafting because of the upside possible due to all of the things that went on around him, getting a better system, a better offensive line, and a better outside target for him. An all-time outside target for him in Tyreek Hill. Kirk Cousins is next on my list, playing for the Minnesota Vikings, a guy who seems to be always forgotten. 4,200 yards last year, 33 touchdowns last year, and now an offense that's supposed to be more centered around the passing game. Irv Smith is an upgraded tight end in terms of a pass catcher, in terms of him and his athletic profile versus Gronklin. Justin Jefferson looks like a future Hall of Famer. He's I know it's been 2 seasons, but like doing things that most wide receivers have never done through 2 seasons, and always seems open. Like looks like he gets 3, 4, 5 yards of separation every time Cousins is throwing the ball, whether that's based on the routes that they were running or based on his skill set or some combination of both. Who knows? I know he's not getting 5 yards of separation, but god damn it, it really looks like it, doesn't it? Thielen extremely capable on the other side. KJ Osborne also a solid player as a wide receiver 3, and Dalvin Cook and or Alexander Madison solid out of the backfield as well. Kirk Cousins does not show any signs of slowing down here this season, and like you just kind of know what you're getting as a secondary quarterback. If you're drafting in the middle of the first round and you take JJ, knowing that you're going to possibly stack an elite quarterback somewhere in those mid rounds 5 through 9, very easy to come in with Kirk Cousins as your QB2 and not really struggle at all. Derek Carr coming in right behind him, kind of looking like Jesse Pinkman all the time in his DraftKings photos. I believe that Derek Carr is going to have the best season that he's had as a pro in terms of fantasy. Okay, I think he's a solid NFL level quarterback who has never really posted amazing touchdown numbers, right? And that's what we're most concerned with, because quarterback efficiency is measured in touchdown percentage, should rise this year for Carr. And moving from the run first offense to the offense that they're going to be running now, going out and acquiring an all world talent at wide receiver in Adams. My issue is that there's no field stretcher anymore. And now you've got Adams, who works the intermediate routes, can get deep, but he's not a deep threat, so to speak. And then Darren Waller operates in the first 10 yards. Renfro operates in the first 10 yards. This is going to be a low A-dot offense more often than it's not going to be a low A-dot offense. However, they are playing 6 games against the Denver Broncos, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Los Angeles Chargers, which means that you're going to have 6 games with totals minimum, with totals between 51 and 60. So there's big shootout potential here a lot of the time for the Las Vegas Raiders. And Derek Carr going to spread the ball around to all of those talented pass catchers, and we'll see if he can have his best touchdown totaled season. 30 plus is not out of the realm of possibility, as well as challenging 5,000 yards once again, because of how good these players are at getting separation in those first 10 yards past the line of scrimmage. So he's not going to have any problem completing passes. It's just going to be a matter of our defense is going to suck up to the line of scrimmage a little bit more. A very talented passer. We should see his efficiency in terms of touchdowns rise with the addition of Adams. Moving to the next player, somebody who's not going to be very efficient, but does it even matter when you're Trey Lance? One, San Francisco is one of the best teams in the league. They are going to play from ahead more often than they are not going to play from ahead, and they are going to be a run-first team. So why are we targeting Trey Lance here as the 13th quarterback on my board? Well, in terms of points per dropback, he's like the greatest of all time. He's the Muhammad Ali of points per dropback because of what he can do with his legs. We need him to be a better thrower. We know that. And I think we need to ignore a little bit of what we're hearing out of camp, because you have a first-year full-time starter playing against arguably the best defense every day in practice. And we're so, well, you know, he's threw this many passes. You're seeing from beat writers who are there at camp. He threw this many passes, completed about half of them. Defense got 6 interceptions today. I don't care, because he's going to be playing against worse defenses than he sees in practice, or is going to see in practice every day of camp in the regular season. Trey Lance is going to do a ton with his legs. Last year, we saw him have really solid games when the offense was not tailored to him. Now they've had an entire off season knowing that he's been the one, him knowing that he's been the one, the QB1, and the pass catchers knowing that he's the QB1, and the offense being totally built around him, not unlike Lamar Jackson in his first year. On this list, this 11 through 20 list, there's maybe 2.5 guys that could end the season as a top 2 or 3 QB, and Trey Lance is one of them. The problem here is, one, stackability. He's not going to throw the ball a whole lot. Maybe 450 pass attempts the entire year. So he's going to have to be very efficient in converting those into touchdowns for him to have a super stellar season. But like Jalen Hurts was not very efficient last year and did not throw the ball a whole lot. And he was the QB1 for like the first 10 games of the year. So expect that sort of scoring possibility because of how good Lance is with his legs. Problem is, when they get ahead, if they just run Eli Mitchell or the rookie running back or anybody else like they tend to do, and suck touchdowns away and suck rushing attempts away from Trey Lance, it could really hamper his fantasy ceiling. But he's being drafted as the QB8 off the board, which means that unless I am targeting a San Francisco stack, like I get Debo early, maybe I get Ayuk, and then I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to go get, or I get the tight end Kittle, and then I'm like, you know what, I'm going to pair them with Lance's, and go with double elite quarterback. You really have to pay up to get him. So you got to be a believer. You're not getting a value at all on Trey Lance, going at the 76th overall pick right now and being drafted well ahead. He's being drafted on the potential of what he could be without any recognition of the downside. And I know that I already said that in best ball, you should be drafting for what you believe the best case scenarios are. And this happens, right? So like we saw this with, we did not see this with Lamar Jackson the year that he won the MVP, but then every year after that, we saw it with other QBs. We saw Trey Lance going the 10th last year. We saw Justin Fields going like the 11th last year as rookie quarterbacks. We saw Kyler Murray before his first season going as the QB7 on Underdog. as well. So it's not out of the realm of possibility or reality that this is how players draft, is they draft for upside. And even if you're drafting him as a QB8, again, there's possibility that he could end the season as a top 3 QB. So there's profit baked in to that projection if he can be a little bit more efficient through the air. The sky's the limit for Trey Lance. It is a leap of faith, though. Matthew Stafford does not require a leap of faith because the Rams offense is locked and loaded once again. Cooper Kupp going in the top 3 picks. Allen Robinson, thank God Allen Robinson finally has a quarterback who's quality, who can throw him the ball. And I don't want to hear it anymore about Matthew Stafford from everybody who was jawing at me in the preseason last year about Matthew Stafford's not even an upgrade over Jared Goff. Matthew Stafford's not that great. Matthew Stafford is going to end his career as one of the top 2, if not the leader, in every relevant passing stat if he plays like 5 more years, this one included. It's ridiculous, the numbers that Matthew Stafford has put up. He is a future Hall of Famer, and now a Super Bowl champion who's quite good on Instagram too. So like, I don't know how that translates to fantasy points, but like, it is what it is. Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, has apparently looked amazing in camp. Van Jefferson behind him. Tutu Atwell's put on a whole bunch of pounds in the offseason. Maybe Tyler Higbee gets back, but they showed that even without Tyler Higbee, they got good play out of the tight ends that they have there. This offense is just going to keep humming along under McVay, and he's going to throw for like 5,000 plus yards. He's going to throw for 35 to 40 touchdowns this year. You know where it's going to go. If you get a top 3 pick or Kupp falls to you at 4 or 5, and then you say, okay, I'm going to go get Allen Robinson, it's not out of the realm of possibility for you to want to go get Matthew Stafford at pick 97. He's being drafted as the QB 12. He's my QB 12 on the year. So like, this is a perfect cost if you already have the pass catchers go with him, because you know where the ball's going to go. You don't have to worry about, well, if, you know, maybe they won't throw the ball down right. You're going to get 30% of the market share targets going to Cooper Kupp. You're going to get 20 to 23% going to Allen Robinson. And if they sign Odell Beckham Jr., who's being drafted in like the 18th round right now in Underdog Fantasy, as a late round guy to maybe fill in the second half of the season as he recovers from his knee tear, there's a possibility that you have another guy that you can pick later in the draft. I'm not saying you have to pick every one of their receivers, but there's possibilities here, especially if you go Rams receiver early, or if you take one of those Rams receivers and pair them up with the week 17 correlation with Chargers players as they both face off in week 17, and you say, you know what, I couldn't get Herbert, but I can get Stafford, and have yourself some sort of a game stack between the Rams and the Chargers in week 17 that should have a team, an overall total of 55 with a realistic possibility of 65 or 70 real life points being scored on the field. You give yourself not only a chance for that Ram stack to pay off, but that game stack to pay off and put you in a position to possibly win the whole enchilada. Aaron Rodgers coming in as my QB 11, being drafted though as the QB 14 on Underdog Fantasy. Why? Because he lost Devontae Adams. However, in the last 3 seasons, in the games that Devontae Adams has not played, Aaron Rodgers has averaged more fantasy points per game than he did in the games where Adams played. Shocking, I know. I'm not saying that trend is going to continue, right? Past performance is not indicative of future results, but like, it's not like he's not going to make things happen. It's not like he has not been an elevator of talent or worked with other players throughout his career. You're getting Alan Lazard in like the 7th, 8th round at this point. Romeo Doubs has been a superstar in camp. Tunyon, because of his injury, is going like the 16th, 18th round. So like, building a Packer stack around Aaron Rodgers as a premium QB2, being drafted as a QB2 on Underdog Fantasy, behind an elite quarterback gives you elite, the 2-time back-to-back MVP. 30 to 35 touchdowns, clearly not out of the realm of possibility here. 4,000 to 5,000 yards, clearly not out of the realm of possibility here. A great pass catching back in Aaron Jones as well. And look, AJ Dillon showed that he can catch the ball too. So it's not like he doesn't have weapons. He's just going to have to utilize them differently. I have him at 11. The field has him at 14. I believe that there's profit here to be had around the 110th pick in your drafts. I've been drafting him as a QB2 anytime I draft Lazard, and I would advise that you look into doing the same. So thank you guys for watching. Leave me a reply down below, share the video, and look out for another one right there.
He's a legend.